Hello everyone and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So today we're going to be updating our node and workers guide. So the last time I made the video I checked was like a couple months ago. They've made a pretty big change over the past few months. One is they retroactively increased everyone's contributions past 501, and so you should have a lot more. But if you were under 501, they made it a lot easier. I wish they made that retroactive as well, but it is what it is. And so people with more contribution points or, got a lot over the past couple months, I figured it would be a good time to update this video and tell you what I have. So basically, a lot of this stuff, I kind of looked at all the nodes over the past couple of years, and I try to pick the ones that are profitable, but also at the same time, I do a lot of life skilling like cooking, alchemy, processing as well. So those are also factored into the choices that I made. So one thing I would always tell people is pick the nodes that will be the bottleneck for you, because if you're doing like cooking, for example, and you need a specific thing, you might want to put a node or worker on that one and just start investing into that one early. That way you just have materials. But aside from that, you don't necessarily have to copy any creator's node setup. I'm just going to talk about things that I think are notable for what I have, and things that you might think are valuable for either selling. All right, so if you're a new player and you're looking at this, you're like very confused and you're like, all right, what do I do? So let's try to make this a lot easier. This is probably the cleanest way I can do this. As usual, the way we do this in this video is we go by region. And we're just going to start from like the starter areas all the way down to the like newest areas. And I think that one is going to be the easiest, especially for beginners to follow. So once again, pick nodes that you think are worth it for you. But here's what I have. All right, starting in the Balenos area, we have Olvia and Velia. The high priority nodes in here are probably things like chicken meat and eggs. Timbers, saps, and like ores are generally very profitable because people still need them no matter where you're at in the game. So all from beginner all the way to end game, chances are those are the three valuable things that people will always need. But in the Balenos area, one of my biggest things is I try to push contribution points. That means it allows you to get more crates for Imperial delivery and just like overall stuff to cook if you're just trying to power level cooking. So Balenos, chicken meat, and eggs are a high priority node. There's another one over here, and those are the two things I think for beginners. Those are what I would get first. As you get more contribution points, things like ash timber and the ores and the crystals are always nice. So the crystals, more for endgame, admittedly, once you unlock Morning Light and Royal Workshops. Copper will always be used. Ore prices and timbers kind of fluctuate, but chances are you'll always need them. So like, I do believe if you were to pick one of them, like timbers versus ores as a new player and you're limited on contribution points, I would probably pick timbers first, simply because you're probably going to need them more often than the others, but really just look at the market and just see which one is more valuable or which one sells for more. But I generally think timbers across the board historically have been always worth more. And so, yeah, if you need iron is also a high priority. No matter where you're at in the game, you'll probably use it. And especially for me, I do use them and then process them into other stuff. So, yeah. High priority, Balenos in the Velia region, chicken meat, eggs. If you can go for timbers, I'd probably put that second, and then ores on the third of everything else. But that's about it. Like, there's a lot of just normal stuff here. Nothing super important except the chicken meat and eggs. I'd consider that high priority. Okay, so going into Heidel, which is Serendia, there are actually a few ones. So here are some of the things for new players that I would pick. So there are excavation nodes. If you don't have this yourself, what you do is go to the node, talk to the node manager, pay some energy, and then it unlocks these like shovel nodes, which are excavation. It gives Trace of Nature and various other ores. Trace of Nature will always be useful for alchemists, so you want to start putting those on as soon as possible. They're worth a lot, and you actually use them. So like Trace of Nature, actually a lot of silver, because alchemists use them a lot, myself included. Aside from that, in here in Heidel, cooking honey, it might not be a bottleneck for everyone, but it's like something that used to only have one node, so I just had it on for a while. Tea with fine scent is a very easy beginner craft that people make, and yeah, it's just something that you'll probably need. Here, there's a lot of wheat and like flax and all that stuff. You know how I talked about chicken meat being high priority? This is also an alternative, like wheat, barley, and all the other stuff that come around here. And I think that one's also a good one. So if you invest in all of these, it's also a beginner-friendly thing. Wheat, you can make beer, which feeds your workers and everything. So you have that. Notice I have a lot of grilled bird meat. It's not because I actually use all of it, but it's because I like pushing contribution points, and it's just easy things to do with a mass amount of materials that you don't have to buy off the market. All right, going down into Glish. Glish is just kind of a unique one because a lot of them are things that I would probably pick if you are specifically going for something. But I think one of the things that is worth going for is Trace of Nature, the excavation node in the Glish ruins, and Platinum Ore. Platinum Ore is always worth a lot. Anything down here is kind of expensive, but Timbers and Monk's Branch is surprisingly high. I think barterers use that and is used for a couple alchemy things that are high priority at this time. So that's why they're always maxed out and on order right now. Anything else here is kind of specific usage, but if you were to invest anything, I'd probably invest in Glish Ruins for the Trace of Nature and Platinum Ore. Okay, so now we're going into the Calpheon area, and you're probably like, what is this? Why is it spinning? It's because I have I have wood crates going in for a turn-in in like 6 months. So I have this going on here, here, and then here as well. So that's why, if you're wondering. All right, so Calpheon. I guess like here is a lot of timbers and ores. Admittedly, Calpheon every year is falling off to the point where, like, if I were to have to get rid of a certain node because I need contribution points, Calpheon is usually the first one to go. However, birch timber is always really nice to have. Tin is, actually, never mind. Birch timber, I believe there's actually like 2 or 3. And then an excavation node over here, that's always nice. Northern wheat plantation. Remember how we talked about like barley and wheat being the chicken meat alternative? This used to be the beginner thing. Before chicken meat was introduced into the game, people would be crafting beers to feed a worker. And yeah, these are the ones you have. So they're actually like, they're not like terrible value nodes. You just don't use them as much anymore. So if I ever wanted to craft like, or get a lot of byproducts or contribution points, these are what I would use as well. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. Down in Keplan, this spot in Keplan is specifically used for, like, coal. Because there aren't too many coal nodes, but you use them with the ores to combine it with, like, various different things. So coal is, it's useful, but then you kind of have to have a specific usage for it, and you're not just collecting it for fun. So one of those things, if you have extra contribution points, you can put it into here. It's kind of a big connection, admittedly, because you have to go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for like 2 coal nodes, and then these are not too bad, but it's not like the highest priority. Spirit's leaf and fir timber are always pretty decently valued as well. And yeah, so next we're going down into the Trent area. Trent is not a beginner friendly one because like there are a lot of other things that I'd recommend picking up first. But if you want to make some big silver, like if you're just getting the materials and selling it off on the market, this is what I would do. Cedar timber is worth a lot. Spirit's leaf if you're an alchemist. Trent's forest over here, fir timber. Like a lot of timbers in this area, because if you were to look at this, you see how there's a lot of trees and stuff. Timbers, that's what you're gonna get in here. I wouldn't recommend getting this one. This is a specific usage one. And going down connected from Trent is all the way down to Marie Cave. Very specifically for pine sap, because saps are, you know, if you're an alchemist, you use them, but if you're not, then I would probably skip this entire connection. That could save you a lot of points if you just don't get this, but I do alchemy and I need some stuff. Longleaf tree forest, cedar sap. Cedar sap is worth a lot, so are timbers, and let me show you. So cedar timbers, you see how, like, if you look at the price of other things, they're all like 1 to 2k, but cedar is like 3 and fir is like 4k each, so it's like actually good. And then one of those things that most people don't know what to do with it. If you don't know, just hit the F2 button. Like, I try to tell people this a lot. If you don't know how to look up something, just hit your F2 in game or equivalent on console, pull up the adventure board, hit crafting notes, and then just search for the item that you need, and it'll tell you like what recipes it makes. It's very easy. It's not really a secret. It's just most people don't know this existed. Okay, so next, let's see. Let's go down into Grana region. Grana, Kamasylvia. This is also one of the things where if I were to ever run out of contribution points and I need something big, these are gone. Because I've slowly over the years taken stuff off out of here. And the only thing I have connected is the excavation node over here, because Trace of Nature is very high value and I will take as many of those as I can. So admittedly, I used to collect all of these things, like various mushrooms and stuff with nodes, but I don't craft with those anymore. The saps here aren't really worth much, and all of these are just kind of irrelevant, to be honest. So the only thing I go for is like Trace of Nature, but that's about it. If you were to grind for your merchant ring and all this stuff, like down here in Ash Forest, once again, it's over here. It's okay to connect this node as well. And there's not anything else, but investing contribution into nodes to grind is always a good thing. Okay, so next we have going into the Odraxia area. What do we have? A lot of these are, you know, kind of niche things. The one I'd recommend, chicken meat and eggs over here. High value, kind of like what we talked about in Velia. Thornwood timber and thornwood sap used to be worth a lot. Let me see if they're... timbers... Yeah, timbers aren't really worth much, but the sap, to me, is worth a lot. So, timbers, more or less irrelevant. Sap, actual good. And then Olins. Olins for the mithril and nickel ore. So, I've always talked about this one, that mithril, you don't really get a lot from the Olins node. If you're trying to go for mithril itself, you go for Duvencrune, and then you have, see how to have like 17,000. There's a couple of nodes we'll talk about once we get into Drigan. Down at Thornwood Forest, we have more sap going and timbers. We just want the sap. Crypt of Resting Thoughts is an excavation node. And let me see. I think everything else is just, you know, on the side if you want. High priority on chicken meat and eggs over here. Saps if you actually use it. And then Olin's Valley for the mithril. And that's good. All right, so Duvencrune. This, like, it's a weird connection, not gonna lie. So over here, Calc Canyon is a lot of zinc and mithril, and these two nodes are extremely important because if you go for a mithril, these are worth a lot. So just over time, you just collect them. I don't know if you can buy them off the market because a lot of people use it and it's probably an order, but once again, that's like, it's one of those things you'd rather collect than grind out yourself. Excavation node over here. So we have 3 mithril nodes going off with the excavation, high value. So these two over here, Call Canyon and Necropolis, are very high value. Let's see. I was looking at this. I'm like, why do I have a connection to all of this? The answer is because Thuja sap and Thuja timber and planks are worth a lot. Let me... maybe not. They went down, but the sap's worth a lot. Timber's kind of like the same price as everything else. Otherwise, Thuja sap is actually kind of annoying to go gather yourself. Trust me when I say that. I'm like Guru 38 gathering. There are things I just hate doing, like underwater gathering. So, and certain stuff in like mountainous terrain. So yeah, if anything, you don't need this one to save yourself like 5 points. If you were to get anything in the Duvencrune area, probably Mithril and then a Trace of Nature. Okay, so let's see. Going down into Mountain of Eternal Winter. All of these are actually pretty good, but if you were limited to certain things only, I'd probably invest in the Jade Starlight Forest first, because one, this is the grind spot for the flame. Admittedly, you can just buy it off the market now and skip this entire grind. But if you want to invest in it, Snowfield Cedar and Timber are actually worth a lot. Rough Jade is surprisingly high. Monk's Branch and Timbers over here, pretty decent. And I should probably invest into this one actually at some point. I'll figure that out because Trace of Nature. And I could probably replace the Cooking Honey because I don't particularly need it, but Trace of Nature is good. So I should probably switch these two nodes. And let me see. Okay. Draw. How many contribution is it? Not enough. I see. I'll figure that one out. Let me solve this right now. Actually, I'll figure that out later. But either way, excavation probably worth more than honey, and I should switch that around. That one's irrelevant. Actually, oranges worth 3k. Let me just remove that one real quick. That's a 2-point node. Not anymore. It's not. Get this one. That's a 3-point node. Put a, which one's faster? 44.9, 44.29. What else does this give? Hold on. Quartz? There we go. Fixed. All right, so that's about it. Like, these nodes are actually pretty good. This one, not so much anymore. I figured the oranges were nice because they're like 3k, but I would honestly rather have literally anything else. But anyway, going on into the Ulukita area. So this one is kind of unique. A lot of the spots you invest into because you grind here, not so much the loot in the stuff. But anyway, there are some pretty decent ones. Tungrad Ruins for double excavation. The crystals are, if you have royal workshops going, then it's probably worth investing into. Iron and copper, you could probably get those from a lot of different nodes. But you get to these crystals, we'll talk about that as we get into the Morning Light nodes. Darkseekers is a very good node to invest into, especially if you're grinding into it, because Origin of Dark Hungers, if you're grinding, is worth a lot nowadays, so you want to invest in a level 20 node. But aside from that, Iron and, you know, everything else is pretty nice. Going into Velendir at the bottom, Ezerheed Highlands, Cedar Sap is worth a lot, White Cedar Timber worth a lot, and I don't remember where these are going into, but like they're somewhere. I think probably Heidel. Down here we have birch, timber, and sap. If you were to look at the market, I'm pretty sure birch, timber, and sap is worth more than pine, but ultimately you could get both of them. And I don't think these are worth anything, to be honest. Monk's Branch is probably the most valuable thing, But aside from that, you're investing in a lot of these, mostly for the grind spot, but Tungrad Ruins is a very good one just for excavation. All right, so now we're going into Tarif and Altinova. So the way I like to separate this is, you see this line right here, right of Tarif. See the straight line? I'd like to think that the way I connect it is everything on this side is connected to Altinova and here, and everything to the left, so like over here, is connected to Tarif. I'm pretty sure that's how I set it up. A lot of these, admittedly, are, you know, specific unique ones. The ones I recommend are probably White Cedar and Sap and Maple Timber and Sap. These are pretty decent worth value nodes. Let me see what else. Zinc is a pretty decently priced node. So is rough red crystals. We'll talk about that at morning light. And I believe Omar Lava Cave for coal and zinc in platinum is a very good one. And aside from that, yeah, a lot of these are very specific case niche things that you probably pick. So just looking into the storage, White Cedar and regular cedar are worth a lot. The sap isn't worth much, but if you know how to use it and know how to do stuff with it, it's pretty good. Aside from that, bloody tree knots, spirit leaf, monk's branch, I believe those are used for bartering materials and a lot of alchemy. So it's a multi-use thing. Cedar sap is worth a lot. Coal, always good. And yeah, that's about it. Going into Altinova, we have a lot of elder tree timber. I'm using these for crates, and we're gonna do a fat turn in like 6 months or a year from now. So whenever that finishes up. So what are some important things worth getting down here? Abandoned iron mine is a lot of iron and zinc. Zinc is a valuable node that we just talked about. Let me show you. Yeah, they're about like 3 to 5k depending on, I guess, whenever people decide to use it. Platinum ore is 40k. That's always a good one. Iron is always useful. And up here, we have a lot of the nodes that are elder tree timbers, saps, and planks and everything. Once again, one of those kind of niche things that you're doing for the long run. That's why we have 1.7 million. Believe it or not, that was up to 2.5 million at one point, and then I started doing crates and then processing them at some point. That's why we are Guru 45 processing. I'm gonna probably push that to G50 plus at some point, just to say I've done it. But yeah, I'm kind of just like turning them into crates to, it's not necessarily, it's like minimal profit. It is profit if you know what you're doing, but a lot of that is I just want to start pushing trading to Guru at some point. So we'll figure that out when that happens in a year. The one thing I have over here is purified water. I believe you can buy this at Sangrain. Like, you can just straight up buy purified water, or, you know, off the market itself. But, you know, it might as well, if I'm not gonna buy it, might as well just have a node collecting it anyway. So yeah, if I really needed it, I would just buy it. It's like, it's really not a big deal, but like, might as well just collect it and have it over time. And yeah, a lot of Altinova is just ores and then elder tree timbers. That's about it. That's something to boost the levels, not necessarily so much profit, but it is nice to have. Next, down here in Sangrain Bazaar, we have the Pilgrim's Haven node for iron ore and all that stuff. This cactus stuff was something that I was using personally. You don't need that one. It's kind of irrelevant. So yeah, I just kind of left a node on. These are not high value at all, but you want the ores at least, because those are pretty nice to have. Going down into the Valencia, or more specifically Arehaza, I have this connected to Gavinia Volcano Zone. So back before Preon came out, I had these vanadium and titanium ores going on. So if you know what to do with them, I guess I'll just say it now because it's kind of like a low-key thing back in the day. These used to make Monos accessories. So I would like get all these, melt it down to like vanadium crystals, and then make Monos accessories and just sell them on the market. That was kind of huge profits before. Now that pre-owned exists, it's a little bit less profit, but I mean, these are still pretty decently valued nodes. It's just not as much as before. So let me look at that, because I haven't made Monos accessories in a while. Yeah, so back in the day, these were like 250, almost 300 mil each, and now they're like half of that because pre-owned exists. But I mean, like, if you ever just want to sell it, it's probably, if breaking even, if not like minimal profits nowadays. But I mean, these are still good. You still get the rough violet and rough blue crystals going on, and if you know what to do with it, these are actually pretty good, or at least the blue crystal is worth a lot. All right, so with that said, let's go into Morning Light now, because I've always been talking about the crystals and everything, and it's like, why is that important? So let's start with Morning Light 2 and Royal Workshops. I have a video talking about Royal Workshops. I'll leave that in the description if you care to learn it. And you just kind of set it and then forget that it exists until you need it. So you see how I have all these crystals going on? You need them for various things in the Royal Workshop. That's why I think you should start setting up, or like at least transferring all your rough crystals over here. Get all your stuff over into this storage and then craft it. I recently did a turn-in for, these are all trade goods that you just turn in. Is it a lot of silver? Not really, but I mean, it helps boost your trading level, so that's why I have it going. But aside from that, it's something you just leave on every now and then, and you, like, the reason why people have it is you hope to get one of these, like, yellow or red items. I actually have a few that I use, so, like, these are for item drop rate for 3 hours. That's pretty good, right? Item drop rate plus 50, 100. If you're a life skiller, miraculous herbal medicine, and then mellow herbal medicines. Those are pretty good. And so, yeah, like, you want these from the Morning Light things. They're pretty rare, admittedly, so you don't, like, get them often, but when you do, it feels good. Yeah, a lot of the nodes here that I have connected, it looks like that. And so basically, if you were to connect anything, I would say probably there's a excavation node over here that's pretty good, another excavation here, and timbers are always valuable. Double zinc, as we talked about, and platinum, always good. And then, yeah, there's a lot of fir timber, spirit's leaf, and then zinc. So if you ever wondered where, like, why do you need zinc? It's because they are high value. And then double excavations over here, or these are more timbers, double excavations. And, you know, quite honestly, I don't really need this one, but figured why not just let it go for whatever. All right, so going down into Morning Light 1, let's separate them by town. So, like, you'll have the Nampo Village, Dalbol Village, and the Nosepet County. So let's separate them by, like, quarters of a region. So, like, over here, take the line down. Nampo Village is where I just store all the crystals that I randomly get. So for all of you who are like, oh, I don't know how to get my ultimate whooms or whatever, the ultimate crystals, whatever they're called. Yeah, so people who are like, oh, I need these ultimate whooms or macalods, but I don't know how to get them. Let me show you how to get them. You put a node and worker on one of these and get these crystal of harmonies, and then when you get them over time, that's how you make them. So yes, I've done the math, and you're kind of like breaking even in terms of like profits for like, it's not really profitable to sell them, otherwise they would be sitting on the market. But in the off chance you do need them, this is how you get them. Back when I was, like, when this was all new, like when Land of the Morning Light first came out, we all had to craft them ourselves. So this is what I did. I would probably value the Macalods more, which is the offensive one. Whooms are defensive. And Yeah. So is it profitable? No, not really. Is it something you do if you need it? Absolutely. For all you life skillers, you need these life crystals. Decimation crystals are actually very good as well. So yeah, at least 3 of these are still worth something. Bitterness and darkness. Bitterness is actually used a little bit. So let me show you. So like bitterness is, you know, it's a niche defensive one. And then if you're going for full damage, you go for Macalods. If you're a PvPer, you're probably using Hooms as well. So like these are actually still useful, but it's not really for profit crafting. You're using it because you want them yourself. So that's why you put these nodes on and get all the crystals in the off chance you need it. Yeah. So anyway, the ones that I have connected to Nampo Village is the excavation node over here. And I believe that's it. Going down into Dalbol Village, we have a lot connected over here. Dokubi Forest for the Harmony crystals, as well as excavation for the Forest crystals. These node is worth a lot. Golden Pig Cave is for the other 2. I'm really doing it for a trace of nature. If I get a crystal on the side, that's great, but it's kind of irrelevant. Everything else over here is like timbers and, you know, more timbers and excavation. Decimation is a good one if you need them, because let me just show you. These things, there's a lot of orders on it. And this is a endgame crystal. The hardest part of this is getting the Crimson Flame, which is about like 500 million. And then, yeah, to make it is probably worth about 1 billion, but no one wants to do that. So people would rather just buy it. So yeah, that's why I also have like, I got one, and then I just kind of have a backup in case I die to something dumb, and then I'm just like, oh, okay, I got a backup. So yeah, make sure to put in all these crystals. Forest crystals for all of you life skillers out there. You can make the life or mastery one, and then eventually you combine the life and mastery into that one, so you get this one. And then all the Jinn crystals, these are actually kind of annoying to make, to be honest. You wonder why they're 7.5 billion each, is because they're annoying to make. And they're actually worth 7.5 billion, but I would value them probably a little bit higher in terms of your time investment. So either way, this is something I worked on a couple of months ago. I did this all in probably like 2 weeks. Admittedly, I had the life and mastery ones already, but I worked on all the Jinns, and then in about 1 month, I got all of these crystals of the new best in slot ones. So yeah, believe it or not, I do more than grinding. I actually do life skills in this game. And yeah, so that's all of that connected. All that we have left is talking about Edania, the new region. I will say, none of these nodes are really worth it unless you are actively grinding or using the things in Edania. So for new players, it's not worth it. In fact, you probably don't even have this unlocked if you're a new player. The reason why it's annoying is because there's only one town, at least for now. I assume Edania Part 2 is probably going to have a new region, or like Part 2 is probably here. And then there's probably going to be a new town like somewhere in the center. And then we could probably connect those easier. But the only node that is probably worth getting is the Ancient Ruins, because it gives Capris Tree Sap, and then Monk's Branch and stuff. So this, the Capris Tree Sap is the only unique node in this area. And if you don't know what it does, it makes the Edania elixirs, which turn into Edania harmonies. So if you're grinding there, that's kind of what it does. And so, yeah, it's kind of unique in terms of like these are worth a lot, but you kind of have to know what you're doing. So this is the only worthwhile node. I have these connected because I used to grind there, and I invested level 20 into all these nodes. And so I can assure you that if you were to look here, you see how I have all the titles? I have a lot of hours into all these spots. Admittedly, I was way past Nymphomere and Etherion, when they first came out, and I talked about that in my grind spot video for silver. These are, these are entry levels, but like Orbita, Tenebrum, and Zephyros are where it's at in terms of big silver. So yeah, aside from that, Edania, there's really only one node worth getting, and then that's only if you know what you're doing with it, because it's a fat connection line of like 9 nodes or something. Actually, hold on, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 nodes just to get this one, plus 2 more of these investments. Yeah, it's not really worth it, but something you can do. Aside from that, that's 470 contribution points unlocked. And just to give you an idea of like how much of that is into other things, I have 10 farms, which is, I actually have the Pearl Shop ones because I actually figured I needed that one. So, and then invested all that into homes. And I think it's a good idea to actually have a like residence home in a lot of different regions, whether you're just grinding there and putting buffs in there. So like, let me give you an example. For Heidel, this is my main house for the longest time. I do a lot of cooking and alchemy here, and I used to put a lot of my buffs and like all the stuff they give you for events in here. So yeah, this is where I do a lot of life skilling. And then recently I invested into one other house in Heidel just because Edania doesn't have houses yet, and I invested into this one because it's literally just closer to get my buffs. Like, that's one of those things where it's like an end game player thought process, but either way, like literally distance. And then if I want to do any life skills, it would be here. But aside from that, I'm starting to put like more stuff into here for like various buffs and everything. So that's about it. This will probably change again every like 10 to 20 contributions when I update it. That's what I like to put in here. But this has been a very long video, almost 40 minutes. I want to say for all of you who made it through this video, thanks so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, have never seen anything, hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.